Alright, so now I'm going to show you guys the super easy sectioning. What you're going to make sure you do is you're going to ask your client, where is your natural part? Luckily, her part is middle, so it makes it really easy. But this sectioning is going to be friendly to anyone with any sort of part or sectioning. So say she had a left or a right side. The first section is literally going to be from left side of her hairline to right side of hairline. Exactly how you would do if say you were doing a mohawk foil. So I'm going to come through and I'm going to comb back her hair, push it back forward, let her natural part fall. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the sectioning that goes from her left side hairline, and then we're going to come over to her right side hairline. And it's right where, when I'm looking at it, where exactly the head starts to turn for the parietal ridge. And then we're going to come up, and now this is going to be important when you talk to your client. Do you want a bold section, or do you want a medium or a soft? So that will dictate how big the size is of this horizontal vertical section. So with hers, I'm going to do just a very traditional, we're going to do a medium size where it's not too little, not too thick, it's going to be soft, okay? So this is going to be the first section, and we're going to section it out of the way. And like I said, it's going to be 4, 8, 12. So 12 foils total. So I'm going to turn her to the side, and what you guys are going to see is now we have our top section, and now we need to connect it. So a forward diagonal back section is what we're going to create. But I don't want to come behind the ear because this is an express section. So we're just keeping this front hairline literally on the front side, okay? And what I'm going to do with my clips is, instead of creating a whole section to twisting like I did on the top, we're going to clip and section away. Now we're going to come over and we are going to do the same thing on the right side. This is where her top section is, and I'm doing a forward diagonal back from where this top section is. And then we're just going to let it drop. And then what you guys are going to see, we have our right section, we have our left section, and we have our top section. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to mix up our Rusk Ultimate Blonde Blue Powder Lightener, and then we're going to work with a 20 volume developer. I never ever ever go anything over a 20 volume when I am doing a foil application. We're going to get our scale. It's super important to make sure that you are always mixing a 1:2 mix ratio with your lightener, or always following manufacturer guidelines. So we're going to come through, we're going to take a scoop, and we're going to see what it weighs out to. I'm a perfectionist, so I want an exact 30 on here. Sprinkle it in. So we have 30. So our 1:2 mix ratio, so we have 30 right there. So then we're going to do 2 parts developer. So that means we're going to do 60 of our 20. So we're going to zero it back out. We're going to take our 20 volume, and we're going to fill this all the way up till you see 60 on our scale. This is how you're going to keep consistent results, and you're going to make sure your lightener is always the correct strength. You're not making it too strong where you're going to fry the hair, but it's not going to be too weak where you're like, oh my gosh, it's not lifting. Then next up, we're going to make sure when we are mixing our lightener and our developer together, I like using a spatula. We're going to mix nice and slow. We're not going to whisk this crazy because it's going to put too much air into the lightener, and then that could give us the potential for swelling. So we're just going to keep on mixing. If I had a large head of hair that I was doing and working on, I'm going to make sure that I mix this exact amount every time. I usually work with 30 grams is what I have. Nothing more than that, because once you remix every time, and it's going to keep that lightener nice and strong for you, because the lightener has 60 to 90 minutes for developing, and then it turns off. So remixing is going to make sure that you have a nice strong developer, and that's the consistency you want when you are foiling, where it's nice and runny and we've gotten out all the clumps. All right, so what we're gonna do first is with the very front hairline, the first piece that you're gonna take, you're gonna make sure you're taking a baby light. And we're gonna take a baby light on this front one, the side right and the side left. So that will be your first section. So we're gonna come through, we're gonna skim right through the top. And especially everyone has a different hairline. So sometimes I'll go through and I will subsection it if there's a bunch of like little baby hairs that are going through. So we're coming through, we sectioned off our little baby hairs. Now what you want to make sure that you're not doing is when you come in, see these tiny baby hairs? I do not want to highlight those whatsoever because they're going to look broken. So we're going to come out, we're going to make sure that I have the exact section I want. I'm going to pick out a little bit of this front hairline. Then we're going to come through, and we are working with foils that have texture and that they fold. The texture on them is really going to make sure that it doesn't slip. We're going to fold over the comb, lift up your section. I will use my finger to really push away any of the baby hairs, lay it underneath, and then pull. And then we're going to take our fingers and we're going to push it straight on. Then we're going to come through and we're going to take our lightener, and I'm not putting the lightener right up at the top of where the foil is. I'm applying it just below it, and then I'm going to hold my brush on so that foil doesn't slip. Take my left hand, place it underneath, and then we are going to fully saturate. And then once we have everything nice and saturated, I'm going to take the corner of this brush, and this is when we're going to feather it up. This is how we're going to create a really soft. Instead of taking my brush and going flat and then down, that's not going to create a soft blend. We're going to hold the foil up, and then we're just going to feather it nice and down. Now, she has previous lightened ends on her hair, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to come through and I'm going to take these ends, we're going to grab them, we're going to apply them up in the top of the foil. And I know that this lightener is pre-bonded, so it has bonder in it, and it's really going to keep those ends nice and protected. And this is another reason why I don't use anything over a 20 volume in the foils. These foils, I don't need them to sit really long on her hair, so that's why I am using a 20 volume. If I was doing a technique where I had more foils to apply, I would definitely be using a 0 lift or 10 volume. Alright, so the next section that we're going to be doing, it's going to be a slice, and it's going to be from the right side all the way over to the left side. This entire section that I just took right here, we are going to be saturating with color, okay? So you're going to have 4 foils. So the first foil is your baby light. The second one is a teasy light, and this teasy light is just going to be a quarter tease. So we're going to elevate the hair 90 degrees up from the head. We're going to take our comb, place it in the hair, and push. We are not here to make a rat's nest. Now I'm going to take this section back down, place it a quarter, and push. So the more hair you tease, the more root you're going to have. So I'm wanting to build in the root. With this one we did a quarter tease, so it's a quarter of the hair. The next foil will be a half tease, and then the last foil will be a full head. So this one's going to be a quarter, the next one's going to be a half tease, and the last one is a full. So what we're doing is we're really building in the root. We want to keep around the front hairline nice and bright. What you can do, and what I like to use, is a board. What a board is going to allow me to do is create more saturation and more blend. So we're going to take our board, we're going to fold over the foil over the top. That's going to help prevent the foil from slipping down at all. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place it right underneath our section, holding these ends nice and taut with my fingers. We're going to come through with our lightener, and we're going to apply it midway. So we're going to apply our lightener, and we're going to wipe off all the lightener onto the hair, so there's no more lightener on the brush. What the board is going to allow now is I dipped in just a little bit, apply down, and we're going to feather up. So the board is allowing me to really get that blend in there. We have the blend with the teasies that we have right here, and we're gonna pull those guys up. A lot of times with these guys, these ones are wanting to play, I will take a clip and we'll clip them away so they don't play, okay? So we're gonna come back in, really saturate, and then we're gonna feather up. And then she has her ends right here. We wanna make sure that we get them nice and highlighted. We're gonna grab the ends, we're gonna place them up, and then we're gonna take our brush and apply. We're not gonna take our ends like you usually see and make a hot mess. We're making it just nice and easy, so when you go to remove this foil, you get a even, consistent blonde from top to bottom, and you're not creating any damage within your blonde. Remove your board, fold, and we're not going to do another fold. We're just going to leave it just like that. And we're going to fold the left side, right side. It's super, super important to make sure when you are folding your foils, you're locking them in. That's going to help them from not slipping. We're going to remove our clip. I usually keep it right here on my wrist. So our third foil, we're going to take another slice. We're going to come from left side all the way to the right side connecting. So this section is going to be a half tease. So we're building in more of the root. All right, so we're going to make sure we elevate 90 degrees. This is the best way to really get in a good tease. We're going to take our comb, place it halfway, and push down. Okay, and then I'm going to make sure I work that tease at the root area, and then I'm going to come halfway and we're going to push down. So I'm really making sure that I'm pushing these teasies away. We're going to come, we're going to grab our foil, we're going to grab our balayage board, and we're going to make sure that we fold it over the top, because this will help prevent it from slipping. We're going to lift up our section, apply it down, and I'm holding nice and tight with my thumb and my finger. So we have all these guys right here. I'm going to take them and pull them up and away. You can also take your comb and really push up on these guys to get them out of the foil. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my clip, and we're going to clip and get all those guys out of the way. We're going to grab our lightener, apply it on the mid area, and then we're going to feather up. So this is really going to help with blending. If I didn't have this board here, I wouldn't be able to blend it, okay? So we're going to come down, and I want to make sure that that is fully saturated. And then once again, I'm going to take my brush, and we're going to blend up. I don't have to hold the ends, because essentially your lightener is like your glue. It's holding it all down for me. We're going to grab these ends, pull them up, and then we're going to apply our lightener right underneath, and then we're going to take these guys back down. Instead of making a little swirly, we're going through and we're making sure we're getting everything nice and saturated, clean, and it'll be happy. Okay? After we do that, we're going to remove our balayage board. We're going to fold it in half. We're going to press down. We're not going to seal or do anything like that, because when we take our fingers and seal and press right here, you're going to create lines, and you're going to push that lightener up and out. All right, so our fourth foil, you guys, we are zipping through. We are going to come through, and we have this huge section right here. Ideally, I do not want to completely lighten it. It's not going to get great saturation. So I'm going to come through, and I'm going to subsection this and make it a little bit smaller for me to handle. But we're still going to do a full tease. So this one's going to have the max amount of root. So we're going to elevate up 90 degrees, and then what we're going to do is we're holding these ends, we're going to push a full tease, so we're all the way at the ends, and I'm not holding the ends tight. Don't hold the ends tight, because if you hold the ends tight, it's not going to allow you to push that hair down with ease. You're going to get a lot of pushback on it, okay? So now it's like crazy. It's wild right here. You're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to foil that? What we're going to do first is we're going to take our balayage board, take our foil, apply it over, lift up the hair 90 degrees like how we teased it, pull it back down, and what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we clip it away. Okay, there's so much tease right there at her root area, there's no way we're gonna get to it. We're gonna take our lightener, apply it, make sure we get all of our lightener off, and then I need to resituate my board underneath. We're gonna feather up. And this is gonna help with that blend. Get more product, because it's a fairly big section, bigger than the others. And we're gonna come through, grab these ends, bring them back up. This is also gonna help make sure you're getting to the other side of the hair, because a lot of times these ends, they really get lost and they don't get lightened. Apply your lightener, and then voila, we are done with our very first section, and we have our 4 foils. So we have a baby light and then 3 teasies behind it, okay? So we have a full tease, a half tease, a quarter tease, and then her baby light. Perfect. All right, so now we're gonna be working on the right hairline. What you guys can see is it's connecting. We have the top of the head and it's connecting down to the right side. So what we're gonna do here, because remember, the first section is going to be a baby light. When I'm looking at her hairline, she has her little baby hairs here, she has her baby hairs here, we have all these little hairs, so it can be a really big pain in the butt when you're looking at it. So what I'm just gonna simply do is I'm gonna take with the tail of my comb, come from the top of her head, and I'm gonna come all the way down. And we're just kind of in a scooping manner, taking it. My comb just got caught on one of these teasies. So if you saw, it was this guy right here. I just literally pulled it back out. So this is gonna be the baby light that we're gonna take. And I'm gonna make sure that I get it up all the way at the top because we want this connected. We do not want to create any holes that are going through. So sometimes you might want to subsection these when you're working with them. So I'm gonna open up these foils right here so they don't get in my way. I'm gonna come through and we're gonna see if I'm able to foil and handle this section. If I feel like it's too big, I will definitely subsection it. I think I can handle this guy. So we're gonna take our comb and we're gonna really make sure we get out all those little baby hairs right there. We're gonna come through, we're gonna grab our foil. Now I do my foil a little bit different. I'm gonna angle it underneath to mimic the hairline. So we're gonna place the foil underneath. We're gonna slightly bend it. We're gonna lift up the hairline, place it, cross it down, and see how it's lifted right here. We're gonna push her and get her nice and tight to the hairline. We're gonna come through with our color brush, apply the lightener, and wipe off all the lightener. And the lightener is creating like a glue for me right now. And we're gonna walk up this brush all the way up to the top. And really make sure we're getting all that coverage. Now, I have to hold this foil to make sure it doesn't slip. I'm not gonna do a little swirly. I'm gonna do a nice gentle plop up with those ends, and we're gonna make sure we get them nice and saturated, okay? And we're gonna come back through with the corner of my brush like I've showed you guys. Make sure we get all of that nice and saturated. Now the hair is really held down, but I'm still gonna hold on with my hand. We're gonna take our foil, let go, because we're pushing up. We're gonna push up and fold the foil so that this corner reaches this corner and we're completely covering. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our comb, place it to make it mimic this section, and fold it over. So now we have some hairigami going on, and then we're gonna fold right there. And then we wanna make sure we really lock in front hairlines, and we're gonna fold right there. So we have a cute little triangle hairline. Next section we're gonna be moving to is a slice, and we're making sure we're coming all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom. And I feel like I can actually do a bigger section than that. So we're gonna add just a little bit more hair into that section. We're gonna clip it away. We're gonna grab our ends. And then something I wanna point out to you guys is I'm gonna keep everything over directed forward because it's gonna give me more of a tease back at the bottom and less tease at the top. So it's gonna create blend insurance. So we're gonna over direct forward. We're gonna do a quarter tease. So we're gonna place it quarter. And sometimes you have to go in there a few times to really build it. And we're pressing that tease, that back comb into the hair, making sure that we're locking it, even lifting it up and putting it in. So when you guys look, there's a lot more teas lower and there's less higher. So when I drop it, it's gonna create a beautiful diffusion. But we're gonna keep it still over directed. We're gonna come through. This, I'm not gonna be using the board because we're doing a diagonal with my comb like I did on the front hairline, because we're essentially foiling on the diagonal and it just makes life easier. So we applied it under. We're gonna take our comb and we're going to press up and away all those little baby teasies, get them out of my way. We're gonna grab our clip. Now this clip, you guys, you can see it's got rubber in it. It's gonna make sure when you apply it in, it's not gonna slip. I'm not gonna use a really big collar clip like these guys up here when I'm handling teasies, because they're really hard to manage. They're gonna slip, they're gonna fall. You're not gonna have an ease with them. So then we're coming through, making sure we saturate, and we're gonna get these ends. We're gonna pull them up like I did on the top. We're not gonna get crazy with them. Make sure we really nice and saturate them. Then I'm gonna make sure we're actually gonna create a little sandwich. We're gonna apply the foil on top of the other foil, press down. We're gonna fold it. I decided to do this because I feel like if I were to fold it with how long it was in the foil, I would not get the coverage where it would bend where I wouldn't want it to bend. So we're just making sure we lock it in. It does not need to be fancy when you're locking it in, as long as you have it locked in. Okay, now we're gonna go to our third foil. This one's gonna be a half T. So once again, we're connecting the top of the hairline, and you're gonna get caught in teasies. That's normal, just pull it back out. So forward diagonal back, and I feel like I can add even more hair into it. So this guy here is going to be a half tease, and we're gonna make sure we're going to comb it. We're gonna over direct it forward to create that blend insurance, place it halfway and push, and really work the tease down onto the scalp. Halfway and push. If you have a tease that does not want to stay in, you can also use a little bit of light hairspray, and the light hairspray will help with holding it where you want it. So we're gonna take our comb, lift up our section, apply it underneath. And then this is when I'm gonna push all of these guys away and out of my way. And we're gonna use the comb and push it up. We're gonna go through, grab our little clippy clip, hold it, get our lightener, apply our lightener midway, make sure that we get it nice and saturated. Then we're gonna feather up towards the routage area, and then we're gonna handle these ends. And I'm gonna also make this one a vertical sandwich foil. So we're gonna keep it as long as we can. Coming through, letting my hand be my board essentially. Coming up and then doing one more little blend on it. Grab my foil, apply it on top, press, press, and then you're just gonna use your fingers and fold. Come through here and fold and fold. You can use your comb if you want to. My fingers work great when I'm doing it. All right, our last section, this is gonna be a full tease. We have our slice right here sitting and ready for us. We're gonna over direct it forward. And then we're gonna come to the ends, press our comb in and push it all the way down. In lifting up your section and really manipulating it to be able to get your tease in is super important. So we did a full tease there. We're gonna lift all the way up our section, drop it back down, take our comb, push up and away any of those little teasies, take our clip, apply our clip, get our color brush, apply the color, make sure we get off as much of that lightener right there. Then we're gonna flick up, and I've created a really good foundation underneath that's much sturdier, and it's gonna act like a board for me as well. And I'm taking my left hand, placing it underneath all the foils, because that's gonna create even more of a strong, like board-like situation for me. So I'm making sure to get that saturation from the top side of the hair to the bottom side. And we're gonna grab the foil in a place over. And I'm gonna continue on the other side of the head, you guys. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. We are going to process for probably about 45 minutes, and then we'll come back and we will do the root melting. All right, you guys, so we have processed her shooting star technique. As you can see when she looks down, it's very soft. It's not this bold in your face money piece. What it's gonna be is it's gonna be more of a triangle money piece. And now we gotta do the real life scenario is she has gray roots that we need to cover. You can either do it before, during, after. I like to do it after because I can blend out. If I had any hiccups with the teasy lights and making sure that the blends were in there, this is the time you can go back through. I'm gonna be using Rusk 10. We're doing 5NN, 6G equal parts, 1-to-1 mix ratio with 0 lift. 0 lift with gray coverage because it is going to give more depth and more tone. As long as your color that is in your bowl of color accounts for the gray. So she has 50% gray. So 50% of my formula is that 5NN. Then the other 50% is the 6G. That's gonna ensure I'm getting the gray coverage. The higher the developer I use, the more it's gonna eat through that pigmentation. Therefore, I'm not gonna get as much depth in the gray coverage. So when you're working with gray coverage, make sure you're keeping that in mind. So we have the color mixed up, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna come through, and I work really, really fast when it comes to gray coverage. So first of all, we're gonna work with a 10-minute color. Rusk 10 is not progressive, so it's not gonna go black after 10 minutes. If you are a new stylist and you're not quick at applying color, I highly recommend working with a non-progressive 10-minute color when you are working with it. All right, so I have sectioned her from front to back. We're gonna work on the right side and left side. And how we're gonna go about this is we apply our color onto our color brush, and then we're going to apply it right down the roots. And then once I get the section outlined, I'm gonna go through and we're gonna work in a vertical application. I prefer doing vertical. What I mean by that is we're gonna go vertical. Vertical is gonna help make sure that there's no heavy lines of demarcation. Sometimes when you go through and you do horizontal application with a root color, you can end up with horizontal lines that are heavy. Whenever you're thinking of lines with hair, vertical is gonna soften, horizontal is going to add weight, and that even goes for like cutting as well. And we're just going to keep applying the roots. And yes, you can apply gray color, permanent color onto wet hair. It's actually going to raise the pH balance, opening up the cuticle, allowing for a better color deposit. With gray color, I like to make sure when I want more depth, more tone, I'm gonna work with a lower developer. Everyone in beauty school, you are taught 20 volume is king. 20 volume is what you use when you are doing any sort of gray coverage. But have you ever done gray coverage and you go to rinse it out and it has like that sheerness to it, almost like a hot root, and you're not getting that depth and that tone? That's because your developer is eating through that pigmentation. Therefore, you're not getting as much depth and tone that you would really want from it. So we're gonna turn her so you guys can still see. And you can see how fast I am literally working through her roots, working with a extra large brush. See how wide this brush is? It's not your traditional brush. Having these wider brushes really, really help. And there's two different brushes that you work with. So this one has softer bristles. So it's gonna help with blending out the root color. That is really great for when you're wanting to do shadow root, making sure that there's no harsh lines. This is the one I'm going to use for any sort of melting, and I'm wanting to make sure that I'm melting and creating soft coverage all throughout her color, versus there's extra large color brushes that look just like this one, but they are a stiff bristle. Why would I want a stiff bristle? A stiff bristle is really great when you're wanting more control over your color. When do I want more control? I like having more control when I'm doing like any sort of bleach touch-up, because you do not want to overlap your bleach. And that's when I will reach for the stiffer bristle, because you can really control how much color is on top of your bristles. You're going to make sure that you're not melting it over. The last thing we want to do is to overlap bleach on bleach. So that's when I definitely use the stiffer bristle. And you guys are seeing how fast I am getting on this color. Root touch-ups used to take me really long to do. These are the techniques of me cutting down my time. It's having this extra large brush. It's working in 2 quadrants, a right side and left side. And also making sure you have enough color in your color bowl so you're not having to remix. That's really going to help with you. So now we're getting up into the shooting star technique. You can see up close right there, everything is still, it's very softly blended. So I want to make sure when I'm coming through and I'm hitting onto these roots that I'm not blending out too much of that blonde and removing that blonde, because we spent time placing it. So we want to make sure that the blonde is there that we want, and we are not just removing it with our gray root touch-up. I'm really holding tension on my left hand, coming through, applying the color, vertical, and it's always holding these ends and keeping control. Finger combing with my fingers, pulling it back. This is a great way for a root application as well, because it is going to apply the color backwards, and therefore it's not going to be resting on my client's face. It's going to be opening up her face, and she's not going to have any issues with that, especially if they're moving around or doing something. You won't have to worry about that. Now we're getting into hiccup. Those are the teasy lids that are still living there. That's why I keep a brush still on my tray. And we're going to brush through these ends. This is a gentle detangle brush, so I'm not ripping through. There's no hair left in this brush. The hair is still in great shape. Boop. And we're just going to go through and make sure we really get her front hairline covered. And we are taking nice fine vertical slices. Now we're getting up to the very, very tippy hairline, where you're going to be seeing a bunch of the baby hairs. And you really, really need to finesse and take your time and not rush. I'm slightly dipping in where it's just on the edge. I don't have a messy brush, so I can come on tight onto these baby hairs and really make sure that I'm getting that coverage for her. And then we're going to come get this last section. Voila! That is the whole right side. I'm going to go through and I'm going to work on the other side of her hair. We're going to process for just a quick 10 minutes. And then I will be back to show you guys the end beautiful result. All right, you guys, we have finished the entire technique, shooting star. So you can see the nice brightness that is around her front face frame. But when she looks down, it's soft, it's subtle, it's not this huge bulky highlight, and we were able to get great coverage.